Hello and welcome back to our Poetry Corner series. Our poem today is another poem by George Herbert, the 17th century Anglican priest and poet. It's a little poem called The Sinner, and it's sombre in its tone but hopeful. And as we go through it, I hope we will see how, as serious it is, and it's very much a confession by Herbert, as serious and contrite as it is, it's also a tremendously hopeful piece. So as usual, we're going to hear it recited, and then I will give some suggestions as to what it means and what we can learn from it. Let's hear the poem. The Sinner by George Herbert. Lord, how I am all fevered when I seek what I have treasured in my memory. Since, if my soul make even with the weak, each seventh note by right is due to thee. I find there quarries of piled vanities, but shreds of holiness that dare not venture to show their face, since crossed to thy decrees. There the circumference earth is, heaven the centre. In so much dregs the quintessence is small. The spirit and good extract of my heart comes to about the many hundredth part. Yet, Lord, restore thine image, hear my call, and though my hard heart scarce to thee can groan, remember that thou once didst write in stone. Well, again, I hope you enjoyed that little piece. As I said, it's quite a serious poem and it's very much a confession. Herbert starts off by admitting that he is disturbed, agued, or fevered, when he thinks what he has treasured in his memory, that is, when he looks back on and reflects on how he lives, and especially what his heart is like. He realises that he hasn't given God his due. He comments that if the day make even with the week, if the soul make even with the week, each seventh note by right is due to thee. In other words, we give God every seventh day of the week, we give him every Sunday. We should give him at least every seventh part of our soul, every seventh part of our thoughts, or our hopes or our dreams. But Herbert admits he hasn't. God has been a very small part of his soul and of his heart. As he looks back at his life and at his thoughts and his heart, he says, I find there quarries of piled vanities, great stacks of vanity and selfishness and self-obsession, but shreds of holiness, tiny bits of holiness, that dare not venture to show their face, since crossed to thy decrees. In other words, even the little bits of holiness he can find have got it wrong, and don't really dare show their face. There the circumference earth is, heaven the centre. That's the image of a circle. If you think about a circle, maybe remember drawing one in a maths class with a compass, where you stick your needle in and turn it round. The centre of a circle is infinitely small. The circumference is its largest extent. And Herbert says when he looks at his heart and mind and life, earth has been the circumference. It's been all about earthly things. Heaven, infinitesimally small. In so much dregs, so much rubbish, the quintessence, the good bit, is small. Herbert is admitting that most of his heart and mind and life has been spent on rubbish. The bit that's been spent on good stuff is tiny. The spirit and good extract of my heart comes to about the many hundredth part. It's a fraction of a percent, he says, of my heart that's good. Yet, Lord, restore thine image, hear my call. That's the idea of human beings being made in the image of God, that what we're meant to be is someone who reflects God, who shows his image and likeness. Herbert has fallen very far short of that. He's consistently failed to be the image of God, and And so he turns to God and says, make me what I need to be. Restore your image. Hear my call. And lo, my hard heart scarce to thee can groan. Remember that thou once didst write on stone. That's the image of God writing the Ten Commandments. Famously, of course, the tablets of the law, the Ten Commandments given to Moses, were written in stone by the finger of God. And Herbert says, in effect in this poem, my heart is a complete mess. It's almost unconcerned with you. It's not even very repentant. It's not even very sorry. I find it hard to even groan to you, to even feel bad about how I've lived. My heart is hard and cold as a stone. But you wrote on stone. There's nothing that God cannot change. Nothing that he cannot fix. Nothing that he cannot remake. And so Herbert brings his life and heart to God and says, I've been a mess. I've scarcely paid any attention to you. I haven't given you what you deserve. The good bits of my heart and life are tiny, and I struggle to even feel properly sorry about it. But you can change me. You alone can change me. And so the poem ends on a prayer of hope. I'm not what I should be, and I can't change myself, but you can change me. My heart is stone, but you wrote on stone. It's a reminder to us, I think, as we look at it, firstly to be honest about our hearts and lives. I suspect many of us would feel the same as Herbert if we really looked at them closely and properly and asked, how much of my time and thoughts and emotions is really devoted to God? But it's also a call to hope, a call to recognise that however far gone we may look to ourselves, however selfish and cold and hard-hearted, God can write on stone. He can change us. There's no one he can't make into his image. There's no one whose hard heart he can't change. We cannot change ourselves, at least not enough, but he can change us if we'll come to him and ask him. And so Herbert's poem, I think, finally challenges the believer. Come to God. Recognise how much is wrong, but recognise that God can fix it. Sometimes we don't do right, sometimes we don't think right, sometimes we don't even feel right, but God can change our hearts and our minds and our lives. Take them to him, and he will write in stone.